Hey everybody, how is it going? Welcome to the next show will be better. It's the Hickson Diaries live stream podcast. Hi, I'm your host Mandy, in case you're new here. And if you aren't new here, welcome back and thanks for coming back. Yeah. I was going to say something else, but it was a little bit nasty, so I don't think I should say it. Anyways, yeah, I'm so glad to have this opportunity to catch up with you all. So just in case you are new here, these live streams are pretty much just a chin wag, to use a British term. We talk about culture shocks, life in the UK. We react to British history, British culture, and we basically just have a chat. We answer questions. We have discussions on whatever's happening in the world or just our corner of the world. So I'm so glad you're here to join in with us. This week, I'm going to give my predictions on the State of the Union address. President Donald J. Trump will be addressing Congress tonight. It's like 9 o'clock Eastern, so that's like 2 o'clock in the morning here tomorrow. So I'm going to give him some predictions about what I think he's going to say and talk about. We're also going to do some reactions tonight. We're going to react to the History Chap's video about the story of Henry Hook, and also a letter to America from Jan Brikmann, who is a German. So we're going to have to make sure we stick around for that, because that will be interesting, to say the least. I'd love to hear your point of view on all of that stuff and anything else that you feel like chatting about. So make sure you send in your questions, comments, concerns, super chats, and critiques, and I will definitely respond to them as we go through everything throughout the night. But first, if I could please ask that you hit that like button, because believe it or not, it does actually help us out a lot. And also, if you have the capability, could you share the stream and let other people know that we are live, and hopefully they'll be able to join us. Also, make sure you check out tonight's poll question. Do you think it's possible to save money in the state of the world today? A little bit controversial and provocative, but it was something that I was thinking about the other day, and actually ties into the blog that's going to drop on Thursday night. So I thought it would be something that we could talk about. Just a simple one this week. Yes, no, or maybe. And if you want to elaborate further, you can in the chat. And like I said, we will have a discussion about it later on. Also, I would like to remind everybody that we are partners with the Royal British Legion. For those of you who don't know, that's an organization that provides lifelong support to anyone who has served in the British Armed Forces, starting from just 1 day of service. The Hickson Diaries community is very, very supportive and active with our veterans here in this great nation and Commonwealth. And if you have been enjoying the live stream and the impact that we build together as we build this community, please consider visiting our website at hicksondiaries.com to make a donation. Last year, with all of your help, we raised over £1,600 for the Royal British Legion, smashing our goal of £1,000. Any support that you give goes to our 2026 goal, which is a little bit lofty, but I thought, aim for the stars, we'll land on the moon, right? Our new target is £2,500. So if we can do that, that would be great. I know it's, like I said, I know it's a lofty one, but I don't know. I feel like we could do it. But last year we did a 12-hour live stream to raise money for it. I don't really know if I'd want to do that again, because it was a lot of work and it was very exhausting. But I'd be willing to if it means we're going to hit that goal. But if you guys have another way or another suggestion that we can raise some more money, I'm all ears. Always an interactive community. So if you go to hicksondiaries.com, go on helping our veterans, and it tells you all about our partnership with the Royal British Legion. Again, it shows you what we did last year. As you can see, totally smashed our goal. And you can make a donation here now. This doesn't have February's in there just yet because obviously we still have a few days left of February, but we do make a monthly donation that is added to this total. And of course, like I said, that will be done next week after the end of the month. It's looking good. We're going to make a pretty good donation this month. So for those of you who don't know, our donations for the month, our monthly donations for the community are just, based on whatever it is we raise for the community. So through ad revenue, any super chats, any kind of thanks that you guys hit, if you hit the thanks button below your favorite video, any of that kind of stuff all comes through, and portions of it all go to the Royal British Legion. So, if you can help, that'd be great. If you can't help monetarily, that's totally understandable. But if you share the stream, participate in the live streams, participate in the comments and interact there, and make sure you get the word out about our community. All of that helps us raise money. So the more awareness and the bigger we get and the more our community grows, then the more money that we'll get to raise, right? Sorry. I lost my train of thought for a second. It's important to me, not just because, I don't know if you can tell, my father was a veteran of the United States Army, but also because the sense of community here in the UK is something that I love and something that I respect a lot. And I really wanted to give back to the community. And I also wanted to bring this community together in a way that was, I think, non-controversial, and also just, help show the world what a real community looks like. It's not about yelling at each other. It's not about tearing people down. It's not built on hate. It's really about coming together for a good cause, having a good laugh, educating ourselves, having good chats, and learning and growing as we, live through this world. I really want to see if there's a way we can make some positive change in the world. And thank you for your continued support in our channel, no matter how you do it. And of course, if anything that you can do to help this great cause. All right. Let's see who's here to get the show started, because, the show only gets better when y'all are here. So I know that Richard got the gold star today. He was the first one in the live chat. Well, Diane gets the gold star. She was the first one, but she's only here to say that she wasn't going to be here. Poor thing is sick. So I hope that she gets better soon. Well wishes to you, Diane. So I'm going to give the gold star to Richard. Also, I gifted a few memberships for you all. So let me know if anyone in the chat received the memberships. I'd really like to know if any of you guys got it. Was it warm in Kent today? It was warmer. There's still a little bit of a chill in the air, but it was warmer. Disco is here, who's one of our members. Thank you so much. And Roy is here, another member. Thank you so much. Piper Charms is here. Thank you for being here, Piper. Manny is here, another member. Thank you so much for being here, Manny. Roy says I might be able to mow the lawn. I don't know. Take a deep breath. We'll see. Try to get out there before the rain, if any rain is supposed to start. How's it going? It's going pretty well. Thanks for asking, Manny. No complaints, really. A little tired today, but I'm all right. Aphrodisiac is here. Thank you so much. I'm watching the Champions League game now. Okay. Have fun. I mean, my live stream's better, obviously. I'm just kidding. Thank you for being here. I understand you'll be popping in and out. Which Champions League game are you watching? Oh, it's not like the final. See, that shows how much I know. I probably should know, but there's like 1,000 of them. I always say that in my defense. Whenever I don't know what's happening in football, I'm always like, there's 1,000 things going on. Piper says, I do believe we can save money, but it definitely depends on salary and circumstance, of course. I agree. I think the saving money thing, though, of course, the more money you make, the more you have potentially to save. But, and I don't discount that at all. But I also think that, like, it's saving money is something that you shouldn't do just in crunch time. Like, saving money is something that, in my opinion, you should do on an ongoing basis. And it's also about, I go into this a little bit more deeper about my opinion, but on Thursday's vlog, but it's also about like being frugal, and not frugal in the sense of like you have to give something up, but frugal in the sense of like, do I really need that? Like all your mindset approach to it. I mean, my approach to money has changed so much over my entire life, basically. I really learned a lot about money through wasting it, basically. But I'm much, much better with it now because of those things. So, hi, Lorena. Glad to have you here. Hope you're doing well. Sneaky Linux or Linux, please let me know, is here. I think this is the first time that you're here, Sneaky, but way to slide right in there. Glad to have you, though. Sneaky says, I have been watching some of your videos for a while, so I thought I would pop in. Awesome. So glad to have you here. I hope that you enjoy it. Let me know. Manny says, I won't bother watching the State of the Union address, as when Trump does it, a rambling effing train wreck, and I have a prior engagement with my bed. Yeah, I know. I was going to try and stay up and watch it, but I don't think I'm going to make it. I'm a little too tired today. But there's a special announcement about that coming later. So you want to hang out, guys. Disco, thank you so much for the super chat. That is super generous of you. I appreciate it. Richard says, as Werner von Braun said, I aim for the stars, but sometimes he hits London. It happens. Look, if you don't shoot for the stars, then you're never going to get further than where you are, right? Like, it's better to just keep going forward and keep trying, and we'll see what happens. I don't know that we're going to make our goal this year for the Royal British Legion, but I'm going to try my hardest. John Broxton is here. Hello. I hope you're doing well, John. Manny says, big ups to the U.S. women's hockey team on snubbing Trump's invitation to attend the State of the Union address. Congrats on both the men's and women's hockey teams on both winning gold. Yes, in Milan Cortina 2026. I know, I'm so excited. I was so happy when I saw those. I was super, super happy. Super, super happy. Hello, David Cook. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here. David says, offense is taken, not given. Have I offended you? I didn't mean to if I have. Hello, Marja. Glad to have you here. Marja says, you can save money if you're frugal. I agree. I think it goes hand in hand, and I think it's a lifestyle choice. I don't necessarily think that, like, no one has the capacity to be frugal and or save money separately, but I do think they go hand in hand. And if you have the mindset of being frugal, you have the mindset of saving money, and vice versa. I think they're like natural byproducts of each other. That's kind of where I'm going. Richard says, the last time I got a gold star was in primary school. Oh, you're the first one in the chat. But that was actually able to chat because Diane was sick. Piper says, getting some moose dessert. We'll be back in a bit. Oh, get enough for everybody, Piper. Dang. Disco says, Mandy, you hit your target for last year, so yeah, you will make it. Oh, thank you for the confidence, Disco. I appreciate that. John Boxon says, I do love how dedicated to the UK military you are. I like the way you do it too, not the toe curling. Thank you for your service shtick they do here. I do say thank you for your service, but it's not a shtick for me though. It's like I actually because my dad taught it to me when I was a kid. You know, I would watch him go up to his comrades and fellow servicemen and women and thank them for their service. So it's something that my family has always done. So for me, it's not that, you know what I mean? Like it's not a shtick, it's real life. It's just how I live. I have done it once or twice to people, veterans here, but it's only been someone who's like been in uniform and usually someone who's like raising money or something like that. Like I won't go up to a stranger on the street because I know it's not the custom here in the UK. But also if someone tells me, you know, if we're chatting or something and they tell me, or in the comments they say that they were a service member, even if they were in the British troops, I do thank them for their service as well. I just can't help it. For me, it's custom. But I hear what you're saying. In the United States, a lot of people say it just to be like, look good or look like they support when they really don't, actually. But thank you for the compliment, John. I appreciate it. Nicola Bignell is here. Thank you so much for joining. Glad to have you. Hello and welcome. Piper says, I think it's based on circumstances as well. Well, I hear you, Piper, because some people are in positions where they can't save, you know, they're living paycheck to paycheck, and it's not always their fault. I agree. Lorna says, I am not watching the State of the Union address. I can't stand listening to that man speak. His guest is supposedly Erica Kirk. That whole Erica Kirk thing, like she just slid right into the like celebrity role. That's a little bit crazy, that whole thing. I don't know. I don't know if I trust her, to be honest with you. She seems a little bit shady. John Boxon says, my granddad and all his brothers were in World War II. One was in Burma, one was in North Africa, one was on the Gold Coast, one was a paratrooper in Arnhem. Is it Arnhem? Wow, it's a lot. There's a song, Werner von Braun. Really? I'm not surprised. John Broxton goes on to say, my granddad was a master furnace builder, so he stayed home and oversaw munitions factories. Oh, that's cool. That sounds like a cool job. Was it a cool job or was it? I mean, lots of stuff sounds like a cool job. I remember I used to describe some of the stuff that I used to do, and I used to be like, it's not cool, it's boring. Roy Cousin says, before I heard Americans say thank you for your service, I only heard it said to a vicar. Okay, well, you know, I guess. Piper started a new job yesterday. Congratulations, Piper. Is it fun? Is it something like fun? Is it something you wanted to do? Is it the one you were telling us about a couple weeks ago? I hope it's something fun for you. John Broxton also says, I think people in the US do it like a reflex rather than with any actual meaning behind it. It's a robotic response for clout. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Please know, for anyone or any of their family members or anything, when I say it, I do actually mean it. It comes from the heart. It comes from, you know, my history, for those of you who don't know. Arnhem is in the Netherlands. Okay, I wasn't 100% sure. Richard Wilmot says grandfather was in World War I and World War II. Whew. Both father and aunt served too, a fearsome family. Yeah, I'll say. John says his father's job was really good, but he left the service with really bad breathing problems. Oh, well, then it's not good, is it? No, that's not a good sign at all. Unfortunately, a lot of jobs back then, you know, left you with physical ailments, you know, permanent physical ailments. It's terrible. Oh, Piper, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for you, Piper. I hope it goes off really well for you. John's is regarding Erica Kirk. She's become a celebrity widow grifter. Yeah, her sincerity is lacking. I agree. That's kind of my take too. I don't know. I don't know. There's some kind of motivation there. I don't know what it is, but there's definitely some kind of alternate motivation. Sean NL4 of says, "Are you supporting the men's U.S. team with the FBI?" Thank you for being here, Sean. As far as like the FBI director flying there to celebrate with him, I think that was crap, but I didn't expect much from him because he's kind of a goofball. So, but I support the U.S. men's Olympic hockey team, of course. Okay, let's do my State of the Union predictions. Okay, so I think I got my notes out of order here. Okay. My State of the Union predictions. This is what I think is going to happen because Donald Trump's a bit of a mess. He's an old man. He likes to ramble, likes to repeat himself. He's obviously, in my opinion, gonna play his greatest hits, as many people call them. But I think he's going to definitely call out SCOTUS because the Supreme Court of the United States, which is SCOTUS is short for, they're at the State of the Union. They're all there. So I think because of this recent ruling about the tariffs, he's going to call out SCOTUS and definitely bitch about them. That's one prediction. I also think he's going to say something along the lines of the American economy is doing so much better than it ever did under Biden, and he's the reason for it. And he's going to be completely like disregarding and dismissive of everybody that's struggling right now. And I'm sure he's going to say that the tariffs are the reason. He's going to make some kind of reference to like everybody's against him. Everyone's trying to take him down. I also think he's going to make some kind of comment on Mexico to where, because I don't know if you guys know, but there's been some upheaval from the drug cartels in Mexico, because one of the heads of the cartels got shot and murdered. And now there's like a war going on. And there's been a lot of accusations from the United States government that Mexico is the reason that we're having such issues with fentanyl in the United States. So I think he's going to have a comment about like they need to do something to control that country. It's a mess down there. This is why we needed a wall, something like that. I also think he's going to make some kind of reference to we saved Venezuela by kidnapping the president. He's definitely going to say something about needing Greenland for national security. He's going to say something about Iran and not allowing them to have nuclear weapons, and that we have to do something to stop them, in my opinion. I think that he might even mention the WAR word. Fingers crossed. We've been really lucky so far. Nothing's broken out, so fingers crossed. I also think he's going to talk about his border peace thing and how it's like the best thing ever and how they're going to bring peace to the Middle East with it. And he's going to save Gaza and he's going to make it great again. And they're going to build. Not to mention, he's not going to mention anything about displacing people or anything like that. I also think he's probably going to mention Biden's name at least 10 times for the fault of everything. There's going to be at least 4 or 5 standing ovations that are going to be way too long. He's going to mention China at least 3 times. He's going to reference the 2020 election and how it was stolen at least 5 times. He's going to call something a disaster, at least 3 things a disaster, and he's the only one that can fix them. And the crowd is going to chant USA at least twice. So those are my predictions. I don't know what you all think of that, but those are my predictions. So the State of the Union is going to be a mess. What it's supposed to be, for those of you who don't know, is the president addressing all the members of Congress, all the members of the Senate, all of the members of the Supreme Court, and giving basically a town hall on where the union is, the state of what it is and what his plans are for, the upcoming year. It's supposed to be like a year in review and then his plan for the next year. It's done annually. Every president does it. It's not something specific to Trump or anything like that. It happens every year. It's usually not nearly as eventful, but because the last, 15, 16 months have been so tumultuous, I think that's why this one is going to be a big one. I don't know. Do you guys have predictions at all? Let me know if you do, because I'd be curious if you guys have any predictions. I understand why you wouldn't want to watch it, because I hear you. I completely hear you. But if it's any incentive, I'm going to do a special live tomorrow for the members only. I'm going to review, do a live react to the State of the Union. It's basically punishment to myself, because I too have a hard time getting through a 2-minute speech from him without getting annoyed. But I figured we could try to make it a little bit fun. So for those of you who are members of the Mandyverse, we are going to have a special lunchtime live tomorrow at 12. So basically lunchtime. And I'm going to react, but we're going to have a twist. We're going to play bingo while we watch. So for example, if Trump mentions the word God in his speech, then obviously you can mark it off of your bingo card, and we can see how many people get bingo and as much time as it takes for us to get through this thing. So there's going to be, after the live stream tonight, there's going to be a post that goes out into the members only community. The Mandyverse community, and you'll be able to click on it, and you'll be able to get you can get, more than one bingo card if you want. Click on the link, it'll give you a bingo card. Copy and paste the link a couple times for a couple different bingo cards if you want. It's interactive. You can just press on the actual space. And you can play along. I'm going to play along as well. And just a little fun way to kind of get through this State of the Union. If you guys are around and can make it, that would be great. It is members only though, so make sure that you sign up to become a member. You can do that by hitting the join button below any video that you want, any video at all, or you can scan this QR code here on the screen. That will also get you some membership. Just to let you know that our membership is, you get tons of stuff with your membership. We're going to talk about it later, actually. But you can only participate in this particular special live stream if you are a member. So that's 12 o'clock tomorrow. I'll put the link out there as well after the stream. We can participate in the fun, see if anyone gets any bingo, and see if any of my predictions came true. You don't want to miss it. I think it's going to be a good time. So I'll leave this QR code up so you all can scan it throughout the stream if you would like to. John Broxton says, I think you're talking about Erica Kirk. You say, let me mourn my husband with fireworks and glitter in front of a 5,000 person crowd. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't like to comment on people's personal lives too much in the public sphere, because, it's no one's business and we don't really know what happens behind closed doors. But she just seems to have slid right into the limelight without missing a beat. And that considering how her husband was killed and she's got young children, it just seems a little bit crazy to me. Cheeky Monkey is here. Nice to have you here. Thank you so much. Cheeky Monkey asks, have you been to Skegness yet? No, I don't know what that is, actually. Where is it? On the coast. Is it? I have not. Is it something I should put on my list? I think it sounds familiar. I think someone might have mentioned it before. I can add it to the list. Go anywhere. It just says, I work for myself and I'm a terrible taskmaster. Me too. John says, the thing he said about SCOTUS being disloyal infuriated me. They are not supposed to be loyal to him. They are supposed to impartially apply the law. I agree. I mean, he thinks the Department of Justice is his personal law firm. He thinks that Congress should just do his bidding for him. He's a dictator. We all knew what we were getting. But anyway, the golden nugget is totally delusional. Agreed, Disco. Good comment. Roy Cousins says, listening to Trump's brain farts is bad for my mental health. Agreed. I just want to see if I really like to hear. It was hard for me to watch Biden's speeches too when he was president because he was clearly in decline. But I like hearing it from the horse's mouth and then going and seeing commentators and having conversations about it, because I don't want to be rude, because I think there's a lot of people out there that do good work, but there's also a lot of commentators out there that have their own point of view and skew and shift things for their own agendas. So I like to hear it from the horse's mouth, especially when it's some kind of leader. I try not to rely on other people's information. But that being said, of course, I'm sure that I'm just as guilty of doing something like that every once in a while as well, or taking someone's word without checking it. I am human, and it's not my job to be a political commentator, so I do my best, though. The White House X account went OTT with the memes and the AI stuff regarding Trump taking part in the men's hockey final and punching a Canadian player with the winning goal. I saw that. It was so ridiculous. There's so much stuff out there that just doesn't move the needle, and it's just absolutely insane. If all that energy was spent in more practical, realistic things, imagine where the world would be right now. John Broxton says, a colleague of mine is on vacation in Puerto Vallarta. I think that's how you say it, and is stuck there at the moment. His flights got canceled. Oh, God, I hope he's safe. Marja asks, do you think Trump is having a tantrum or crying like a baby? Mandy says both. I think I think he's more of a tantrum person to me than a crier, in my opinion, because I think he thinks crying is weakness. So I would pick tantrum. Piper says, I think he'll insult Europe. Yeah, you're right. I should have had that on the list. Good one, Piper. He's the president of peace. Absolutely. No new wars. He's going to insult everybody, definitely. Lorena says, I think your predictions are pretty legit. I guess we'll find out. He hasn't stopped 19 wars. Yeah, hasn't he stopped 19 wars? My bad. Well, in his mind, he's perfect. So. Roy Cousins says the union is in a bit of a state. Yeah, a bit. Just a bit. Manny said, oh, thank you, Manny. I will probably get an update on it sometime tomorrow. No worries. I mean, normally I would as well. I'd watch it and then I'd, spend a whole day probably looking at all the political commentators and their opinions and, have my own internal discussion with myself about it. But I just thought it would be kind of fun, just because we talk about him a lot, and obviously because I'm from the United States, it means a lot to me, what's happening there. But also, I know that what happens in the United States is affecting the rest of the world right now. So I think it's important that we're aware. as much as we can be. John says, I'm not going to subject myself to it because it makes me too angry or upset. We're going to the movies and I'll watch Stephen Colbert later. Fair enough. He has the Nobel Peace Medal, commendable. Yeah. That whole thing? Like, I don't even believe in the Nobel Peace Prize anymore. I don't even know about Nobel for anything right now. Like, it's so great. That whole situation has definitely made me distrust it. The process and everything. I get the edited highlights on BBC World Service, Richard says. So no one's going to join me? That's okay. No worries. It'll be all right. It'll be fun, though. Disco says, is this supposed to be a comedy show? It's not supposed to be, Disco, but I'm trying to make it as fun and as you know, as bearable as possible, I guess is the right word. Hello, Alex Black Cat. How are you? I hope you're doing well. If he mentions the word God, he'll burst into flames. Manny says Maria Corina Machado is a disgrace for bending the knee to him. Yeah, I know. That whole thing was silly. Andy F is here. Thank you so much for being here, Andy. Says, are us Brits going to start sending Lancasters over again? I don't know what Lancasters are, but it doesn't sound good. Do I know what Lancasters are? The Lancaster bomber from World War II. Oh, please don't do that. Please don't say things like that. We don't want anyone attacked if at all possible. Gosh. And he goes on to say, makes me wonder if it was planned and she knew it was coming. I assume you're talking about Machado. Marcia says Trump descended from God. Well, it's only natural he supposes takes the jobs he can. Isn't it funny, right? Trump thinks like, and a lot of his followers think like he was sent from God to save the United States of America and the world by extension. And then you have a king who's supposedly anointed by God who acts completely different. I mean, I'm sure he throws his tantrums and stuff like that in his palace and whatnot, but it's just funny. Don't go to Skegness. Oh, okay. Andy says it's quite simple. Don't elect bloody pensioners. It would be great if we actually had choices, but we don't really. Marja says, looking to see how the World Cup is managed, intriguing. I was totally talking to my partner about that today because of all the stuff that's happening in Mexico and then all the stuff that's happening in the United States. I'm like, FIFA should have left. Like, they should have made a decision a year ago to not do this. But Andy says, I wonder if Farage's ice will be called Bryce. I'm not even watching the World Cup on TV. Sod visiting that. Fair. I don't really watch it anyway. I mean, I sometimes watch it if the US game is on or something. But my partner watches all of them, so I kind of have to. Marja says we will have Mega make England great again. I know. Kind of scary. Andy goes on to say, well, myself, if I were in charge, every time polls a move, tariff, whatever, close a US base. Yeah, I mean, look, in my opinion, the rest of the world needs to start doing some stuff. And I know some people are doing stuff behind the scenes, and that's fantastic. I get it. You have to set up your own national security and make sure that you're set and like you're not going to be as heavily impacted as you would if you didn't set yourself up. And a lot of that stuff does happen behind the scenes and wouldn't, necessarily be public till it needs to be. But what I'm saying is, I think they need to do a few more public things because they need to let Trump know that they're not going to stand for this stuff. Like the Greenland, how they rescued the submarine person, that needed medical attention, and they're like, no, we don't need you. Move on. That kind of standing up to that kind of stuff. The speeches saying no, we don't need the US, or we don't want the US to do this, or a national boycott like Canada did. There's more stuff like that needs to happen. Unless people need to give him millions of dollars and billions of dollars to sit on his board of peace. Like that whole thing is ridiculous. Nobody should have participated in that. Disgusting. Manny says this is the first World Cup he's not excited about. Andy's not even going to watch it on TV. Richard says the far right is squabbling like children already. It's going to be a fully hilarious empty stadium. I mean, there's lots of people getting killed in Mexico right now. I don't know if it'll quell over the next few months. I hope so. I hope sooner rather than later, but it's got to scare people that have tickets, I would think. Marcia says he has become the center of attention. Otherwise, he gets withdrawal symptoms. Yeah, that's how it happens to narcissists. Trump thinks all of his Andy. Sorry, this is from Andy. Trump thinks all of this is a reality TV show. He is chasing ratings. Yeah, he does. He thinks it's all a game. Like he thinks like war is a game, and like he's an idiot. He thinks like TV is the end all and be all. His address will be a comedy show disco. I guess if you go into that mindset, you can think that maybe I'll have some wild turkey beforehand, make it a little bit easier to take, and I won't get so angry. Richards asks, do you miss the American blizzards? I know New York got hit really bad. It was so crazy. I was looking at pictures and watching video. I don't miss the snow at all. Not even the tiniest little freaking bit. I don't. I was sitting there watching it. Obviously, my heart is going out to everyone who lived there and everything, but I was like, thank God I don't have to deal with that. Lancaster's bombers from the Dam Busters. Got it. Oh, that's mean, Andy. Dam Buster comes over, gives you 10 tons of, how's that? We don't want the innocent people in America to be bombed, though. And that's the problem with just indiscriminately bombing like that. I don't believe in violence at all, Andy. So, I'm never going to be a proponent of that. There's very, very strict instances of self-defense, and it's case by case. So, but anyway, if you all want to watch it with me, definitely scan that QR code if you're not already a member, and become a member and help us out. Help out the channel and have some fun with us while you do. Alex says, don't talk about blizzards. I just dealt with a nor'easter Sunday through yesterday afternoon. Alex, are you in the US? Or are you in the UK, or are you somewhere else? Sam K is here. Hi, Sam. Oh, no need to be sorry. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it. FIFA chases the money. Yeah, clearly, or they would have been gone by now. They clearly have no scruples. Let's not drop any bombs anywhere. Let's not perpetuate more violence. Andy says Trump understands nothing but bribery or violence. Yeah. Sam K says Trump, the UFO, unidentified floppy object. Marcia says Canada is organizing an aid package to Cuba, and Russia is sending an oil tanker. Jesus. This is what happens when you why would you upset Canada? They share a border with you, and they literally do nothing to anybody. Andy says, on a plus, all of this attacks on the cartels in Mexico, they might do something, quote, fun in return. I don't know, definition of fun. Stephen Kelly is here. Hello, Stephen. He says, good evening, Hicksonites. Good evening. So glad to have you here. It's Cuban Missile Crisis Part 2, Marcia says. Oh, scary. Richard says, I saw someone from New Jersey all wrapped up from a town beginning with H-O-K. Could be Hoboken and not Hoboken. It could be Hoboken. It's Hoboken is right across the Hudson River from New York City, so it could be that. I'm trying to think. Or Hackensack, I think is close to North Jersey as well. So I think they would have gotten snow. But it sounds like Hoboken. Sam K says, I bet Trump's breath is so bad that people look forward to his farts. I don't think anyone looks forward to anything about him, to be honest. Stephen Kelly says, I'm just awake. And Richard says, blame Canada. It is. It's all Canada's fault. All right. Let's do this history chat reaction, guys. Let's do something a little bit more fun. Not that it isn't fun talking about the end of the world with y'all. Just kidding. It's not going to be the end of the world. We're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. All right. This is the history chat, who we love and is amazing. This is Zulu's Greatest Injustice, the true story of Henry Hook, BC, from the Zulu War in 1879. Okay.
Hi, I'm Chris Green, the History Chap, telling forgotten stories from British history. Now, if you've watched the film Zulu, you'll remember Henry Hook, whom Lieutenant Bromhead, played by young Michael Caine, describes as a thief, a coward, and an insubordinate barrack room lawyer. Played by James Booth, this Cockney anti-hero seems more intent on gaining a drop of medicinal brandy and gambling than doing any soldiering. Despite all this, Hooky does come good, as he saves the patients in the hospital as it's stormed by the Zulus, and is awarded Britain's highest medal for bravery, the Victoria Cross. It's one of cinema's great character arcs, and in
Okay, I have never seen Zulu. Is it a good movie? Should I watch it? Let me know in the chat.
many respects, it makes the film. But what if I told you that the real Henry Hook was the exact opposite of his film character? A teetotal model soldier who served his country for over 40 years. The film does this Victoria Cross hero a massive disservice. A disservice that caused great distress to his family at the premiere and led to yet another myth spawned by the film, as you're going to find out near the end. In the meantime, it's time to tell the true story of Henry Hook, VC. Unlike the Cockney character played by James Booth in the film, Alfred Henry Hook was born 100 miles from London in the Forest of Dean, Gloucestershire, on the 6th of August, 1850. He was the eldest of 6 children, born to a farm labourer and his wife from the tiny hamlet of Churcham, about 6 miles west of Gloucester. In the 1860s...
What's a hamlet? One sec. It's a little cold. I need my blanket. What's a hamlet? I get confused with like hamlet and parish. Can you guys let me know?
...1 census, he, like his father, was registered as a woodcutter, indicating that his education had already ended and he was out in the working world, aged 11. In 1870, just short of his 20th birthday, he married Comfort Jones, and they would have 3 children, a boy and 2 girls. He was already a volunteer with the Monmouthshire Militia, and in March 1877 enlisted in the regular army, joining the 2nd Battalion, 24th Regiment of Foot.
Is that true, Andy? Well, thank you for telling me it's a quality film. But he also says, do you know how they trained the actual Zulus to respond to gunshots? They showed them cowboy films on a big screen. Is that true? That's crazy. I haven't seen the film Zulu Dawn or Zulu. Should I watch them both, Disco? If I can.
Quite what motivated him to sign up is lost in the mist of history. Maybe he loved the army life that he'd discovered in the militia. Maybe it offered him better job security than his civilian role as a workman. Maybe his marriage wasn't as happy as intended. Maybe he simply wanted adventure. Who knows? But if it was adventure he was after, he was certainly going to get it in South Africa less than 2 years later. As an experienced militiaman, the 5'7" tall Hook only had to complete 3 months training at the regiment's new depot in Brikmann before he joined the regiment in Kent. The following year, his 2nd Battalion was sent to South Africa, where they fought in the 9th Xhosa War. In July 1878, they found themselves posted to the British colony of Natal, where tensions were rising with the neighbouring kingdom of the Zulus. When, in January 1879, Lord Chelmsford led a British invasion of Zululand, a small garrison of less than 140 men, mainly from B Company, 2nd Battalion, was left to guard the mission station at Rorke's Drift on the British side of the border. The mission station had been converted into a supply depot and also a hospital. And inside the hospital were a small number of patients, some wounded in the early skirmishes with the Zulus, but most suffering from tropical diseases or accidents. Included in the number was Sergeant Robert Maxfield. From Monmouth, in the film, Maxfield is the NCO who accuses Hook of being a thief and who previously put him on field punishment. That is artistic license. Hook was no thief and certainly hadn't been on field punishment.
Do you think that they made him like that just for the character arc, like just for the payoff in the movie? I would think that there's probably a lot of action in the movie anyway.
What the film does get right is that Maxfield was delirious from a combination of dysentery and rheumatic fever. And it was in this hospital that we find Henry Hook on the afternoon of the 22nd of January 1879. However, the reality in the film once more diverge at this point. In the film, Hook, played by James Booth, is malingering in the hospital, feigning injury so he doesn't have to do any soldiering. He suggests to Surgeon Reynolds that a spot of medicinal brandy will help the situation. However, Reynolds, who refers to him as my malingering Hector, tells him that brandy is for heroes and simply lances a boil on his back instead.
Okay, brandy makes everything better. Could just be my opinion, but brandy makes everything better.
Let's face it, Zulu is a great film. It's still one of my favourites, but it does play fast and loose with the historical facts. Firstly, Hook was not malingering in the hospital. He was actually working as the cook and was preparing tea for the patients, when at around 3:30 in the afternoon, 2 breathless men rode into the mission station, bearing the news that the garrison at Isandlwana had been wiped out, and an army of 4,000 Zulus was heading for Rorke's Drift. Secondly, he certainly would not have been trying to sample any medicinal brandy, as back in August in Pietermaritzburg, he had actually taken the pledge to abstain from alcohol with the Temperance Society of the Good Templars. From its beginnings in the 1850s, the Good Templars had grown rapidly in North America before its first lodge was established in England in 1868. By the time of the Anglo-Zulu War, it had lodges throughout the British Empire. One of its most famous British members was William McGonagall, now often referred to at the time as Britain's worst poet. I've introduced you to some of his rhymes in previous episodes, such as my one on the Battle of Abu Klea during the Nile expedition to rescue General Charles Gordon in Khartoum. As the tiny garrison fortified the mission station, Hook was dispatched to defend the hospital. In the film, he shows a complete unwillingness to prepare for the fight, refusing to create any loopholes. He has a showdown with Sergeant Maxfield and afterwards laments that the sergeant had previously sentenced him to field punishment and sent his pay to his wife.
Isn't it funny how back in the day, like, there's so much artistic license that could be taken that they could completely distort someone's story like that? I remember hearing about I don't know if you guys know this, the movie Lady Sings the Blues. It's about a singer called Billie Holiday. It's an American singer. And that whole story was completely distorted as well. And her story was somewhat true, but then the story about her and her boyfriend was like completely wrong. it was really kind of disappointing. I just feel like it does it such a disservice to the people, these are real life people. Like if you're going to base it on a real life character, then you should really try to be as accurate as possible. I understand you have to sort of embellish certain things in order to create drama and to keep people hooked. Like I totally get that. But at the same time, you shouldn't just completely like make things up. I mean, artistic license, as an artist, I get the art, the artistic license argument, but I just feel like when you're doing something historical like this, you should definitely pay a lot more attention to the real story. I mean, that's probably what made you want to do the movie in the first place, was the actual real story, right?
No such showdown or punishment took place. In fact, before the battle, he actually received a good conduct payment rather than field punishment. Where the film Zulu and reality do come back together is during the actual Zulu attack. In the film, the rebel Hook comes good as he bravely defends the patients in the hospital and holds the Zulus off as the British retreat room by room. And that bit of the film is basically correct. Hook himself told his story on numerous occasions afterwards, and over the years it remained pretty consistent. Hook was one of just 6 able-bodied soldiers allocated to defend the hospital. Along with Private Cole, he was stationed in a room at the far left-hand side of the building. Now, when we talk about a hospital, it's easy to picture a modern hospital, or maybe one with those long wards at, say, Scutari in the Crimean War, or the military hospital at Netley on the Solent. Rorke's Drift was not like that. Here, the hospital had been converted from the missionary Dr. Otto Witt's house. A series of small rooms, some with high windows, some with external doors. Some totally isolated, without even internal doors. The room that Hook and...
No internal doors. How do you have rooms with no internal doors? How do you get to them? Am I missing something?
Cole were defending did at least have a door leading outside and another flimsy door leading into the next room. The former, leading outside, had been barricaded using heavy mealie bags, just as well as their room and the one next door, being defended by Private John Williams, bore the brunt of the Zulu attack. By the way, Williams had actually been born John Fielding, but had signed up as John Williams. Having dug loopholes through the wall, they prepared to hold their position. During the initial attack by the Zulus, Hook, who was considered a good marksman, claimed that he'd hit a warrior at 400 yards. He then spotted a Zulu hiding behind an anthill about 300 yards from the hospital. His first shot went high. His second hit the ground in front of the target.
Oh, they just had like the doorways, not the actual door. Okay, that makes sense. I was like, how do you not have a like door? You have to be able to get in there. Okay, it's just me being thick for a minute.
He was not sure if his third shot hit his opponent, but the Zulu never popped up again. Next day, he would go looking for that man, and you're going to find out what happened later in this story. For nearly 4 hours, they defended their tiny outpost. At some stage, Private Cole tried to make a break from the hospital, but was cut down by the Zulus. Now fighting alone, with his ammunition running low and the external door starting to give way to Zulu pressure, Hook retreated to the door connecting his room with the one next door, containing 6 patients. Hook slammed the flimsy internal door shut and began to barricade it with whatever was at hand. Behind him, the sole patient in his room, an African auxiliary, lay on his bed unable to move, calling for help. Hook heard the Zulus entering, shouting questions at the auxiliary, and then the terrible sounds of him being stabbed to death. He was now joined by Private John Williams, who'd used a pickaxe to smash through the wall of the room he'd been defending. The room in which they now found themselves, along with 6 patients, had no means of escape. There were no external doors, and the only internal ones led back to the rooms that they'd just vacated, which were now swarming with Zulus. Williams, still carrying his pickaxe, now started to smash a hole in the mud wall that led to the next room along, whilst Hook defended the doorway, killing at least 7 Zulus with both rifle fire and his bayonet. An assegai smashed into his helmet, forcing it back and gouging a wound across his head. At the time, the adrenaline numbed the pain, but in later life, Hook would suffer from painful headaches. More than once, the Zulus tried to grab the barrel of his gun, but he was able to pull it back and continue to fire. On one of those occasions, a strong Zulu warrior was attempting to wrest the rifle when Hook slipped a cartridge into the chamber and pulled the trigger. The muzzle was against the Zulu warrior's breast, and he fell dead. Hook added the dead Zulus to his barricade as Private Williams continued to smash an escape route. Finally,
stacking the dead guys up too as a barrier? Kind of ballsy. That's wow. I mean, I suppose it happens, and it's as good a barrier as any when you need it. But the image. Sorry, go ahead.
He broke through, and the patients followed him. All the patients had now got through the hole, except one. Private John Connolly was 21 years old and had joined the army in 1876. During the initial British invasion of Zululand, he'd fallen from a wagon and dislocated his knee. He was in the hospital recovering, and Surgeon Reynolds had recently put his leg in a plaster cast. Now unable to move, he lay on his bed as his fellow patients fled through the hole. As Hook passed him, he pulled him from his bed as the Zulus broke into the room. Dragging him across the floor, he yanked him through the hole, breaking his leg again. But I guess the pain of having his leg broken again was the lesser of the two evils that he was being faced with at that moment.
Yeah, I would say.
With the day turning to night, the Zulus, in a desperate attempt to smoke out these stubborn defenders, set the thatch of the hospital roof alight. Hook, Williams and their fleeing patients now found themselves in another room that was undefended. Apart from an external door, once more barricaded with mealie bags, they were trapped. As Hook later, and on more than one occasion, recalled, "We were pinned like rats in a hole."
Jesus.
Yet again, Williams set to work, smashing a hole through yet another wall, whilst Hook killed any Zulu who tried to crawl through the hole which he had just pulled Connolly through. It's hard to imagine just how terrifying this ordeal must have been. Desperately fighting for your lives in a building that was thick with smoke, with flames crackling overhead, and at any minute the Zulus breaking into the tiny room, so small that Hook claimed that you couldn't swing a bayonet in it. Eventually, they reached the last room, closest to the rest of the British garrison, and the fugitives were able to climb out of a high window and drop nearly 6 feet to the ground outside. However, they were not safe yet.
Well, Richard, your comment, both boys and girls were organized into regiments. When the boys had been in a battle, they married the regiment of girls. Talking about the Zulus, I assume. Interesting. It's like a rite of passage to be in battle. Yeah, that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? You had to be a warrior. And yeah, okay, that makes sense.
During the battle around the hospital, the rest of the garrison had been so hard-pressed that the officer commanding, Lieutenant Chard, had ordered them to fall back to a new defensive line closer to the chapel-cum-storehouse. This not only left the hospital at the mercy of the Zulus, but now left the fugitives in no man's land. They now had to run the gauntlet of fire from Zulu marksmen, as well as the odd Zulu charging them as they raced to safety. As in the film, Hook brought up the rear. Now, in the film, Hookie breaks into the missionary's drinks cabinet, and whilst one of his comrades warns that it's a flogging offence, he helps himself to a swig of brandy. As you might have guessed, that is far from the truth for a man who had taken the pledge to abstain. Instead, Hook helped the injured Connolly out of the window and then carried him across his back to safety. Connolly would survive the battle and died in Swansea in 1906. For the rest of the night, Hook managed...
See, he was a hero, and I'll have to watch the movie to make an actual real commentate on that part, but I don't know. I don't know why they made him out to be like a scoundrel. I guess to
the barricade.
I guess to enhance the arc, but still.
He was one of a small team, led by Lieutenant Chard, that raced back across no man's land to retrieve a water cart for the parched garrison. The fighting that had raged so fiercely earlier in the evening eventually petered out around dawn. As the sun rose, and with no sign of the Zulus, Hook was tasked with gathering in any rifles or Zulu spears that he could find. He took the opportunity to go and see if he could find the man he'd been shooting at behind that anthill at the very start of the battle. He found him lying behind it, with a bullet wound through his forehead. It seems Hook was a much better shot than the film made out. It was whilst returning that Hook's story very nearly ended. He observed a tall Zulu warrior lying completely still, but bleeding from his ankle. In one of those moments that most of us have, when we know something isn't quite right but can't compute it, Hook thought it was strange that a dead man could still be bleeding. As he passed him, the warrior suddenly sprang onto his knees and tried to grab Hook's rifle. Hook gave him a blow with the rifle butt in his chest, and then, stepping back a yard or two, loaded his rifle and fired. After that, the defenders were not allowed to venture outside the mission station unless in twos or threes. It was the 23rd of January, 1879, and as dawn turned into day, what remained of Lord Chelmsford's column approached out of Zululand, and seeing them, the Zulus, who had been considering another attack, withdrew. The Battle of Rorke's Drift was over. In the film, during the roll call, Hero Hook reverts to form.
Look at his chops! Dang! Woof! You wearing that freaking tash and chops, bro.
And immediately tries to get back in the sick bay and do as little as possible, before Colour Sergeant Bourne barks, "Stand where you are, Hook!" In reality, Henry Hook did revert to form, just a very different form. He went back to making tea for the men. And it was whilst he was making the tea, having thrown off his tunic and with his braces down, that he was told to report to Lord Chelmsford immediately. All in a fluster, he stood to attention in front of the commander, without his tunic, with his shirt sleeves rolled up, his braces hanging down, his hands and face black from smoke, and gave an account of his actions in the...
Wait, when they say braces, is that like suspenders? That's what it means, braces hanging down? That's suspenders, right?
The hospital. Despite his appearance, he must have made an impression on Chelmsford, because the commander stood up, shook his grubby hand, and congratulated him on his bravery. He also told Hook that if ever he wanted his assistance, he just had to ask. Hook would call in that offer just a few years later, as you're going to hear in a moment. Henry Hook was one of 11 defenders at Rorke's Drift to be awarded the Victoria Cross. He was also the only one to receive his medal at Rorke's Drift itself, when Chelmsford's successor, General Sir Garnet Wolseley, presented it to him in August of that year. He recalled that after the ceremony, many men offered him a drink, but, being true to his vow of abstinence, he refused.
You have to give him his due, man. He definitely held his vow. That's pretty cool.
In fact, he took that pledge so seriously that he also refused his daily ration of rum, giving it to one of his comrades. After the war, Henry Hook bought himself out of the army and was discharged in June 1880.
Thanks, Disco.
He applied to work as a janitor or assistant at the British Museum in London. However, he ran into a problem. He couldn't read, a key requirement for anyone working there. It was now that he called in that favour from Lord Chelmsford. Chelmsford, true to his word, wrote a letter supporting his application, which was joined by letters from his company commanding officer at Rorke's Drift, Lieutenant Brummett, and one from the Prince of Wales. These letters, and possibly his Victoria Cross, did the trick. On the 26th of December, 1880, he started his new job as duster of books in the museum's famous round reading room.
Is that a job? Is that a job, dusting books? That's interesting. Stephen Kelly says braces are suspenders, but I hate when my missus wears stockings and braces. Is that garters? And you hate that? No offense, Stephen, but I've never met a man who hated that. I'm just saying.
He was to work at the British Museum.
Not a man that liked women anyway.
For the next 24 years, eventually becoming a caretaker for members.
Actually, I've never met a gay man that didn't like it either, to be honest.
As umbrellas. And in that capacity, and wearing his Victoria Cross, he became a minor celebrity, and visitors would stop by to hear his stories of the battle. Despite taking lessons, he never became proficient at either reading or writing. Despite leaving the regular army, which cost him £18 at the time, it didn't take long for Henry Hook VC to once more join a volunteer battalion. In this instance, seeing as he was now living in London, it was the 17th North Middlesex Rifle Volunteers, where he was promoted to Lance Corporal. Shortly afterwards, he moved to the 1st Volunteer Battalion of the Royal Fusiliers. As an aside, this unit had been formed in 1859 by Thomas Hughes, the author of Tom Brown's School Days, the book in which we first meet Prize Cad Harry Flashman.
Oof. There was an image, huh? Jeez.
Hook would serve in the volunteers for 20 years and rise to the rank of instruction sergeant. I said earlier that maybe one of the reasons that he had joined the army, and we don't know for sure, was because his marriage was already on the rocks in the 1870s. Certainly, when he returned from South Africa, he doesn't seem to have lived at the family home, and as we've just seen, within months he was working in London. Despite stories that his wife, Comfort, believed he'd actually been killed in the Zulu War and had married another man, the facts don't bear that out, or rather, not immediately. Comfort eventually did remarry bigamously, but only in 1895. And at that point, Hook petitioned for a divorce, which was granted.
No.
In 1897, he married Ada Taylor at St Andrew's Church in Thornhill Square, Islington. The couple, plus a daughter, Victoria Catherine, were living in Lower Holloway, Islington in the 1901 census. Interestingly, his daughter, Catherine Victoria's initials were V.C. Hook. Coincidence?
That's fabulous. I love that.
Pride or a hidden sense of humour? I guess we'll never know. However, his health was never the same after Rorke's Drift. That assegai wound to his scalp gave him increasing discomfort as the years went by, and after his return to England, he suffered breathing problems and consumption, or what we'd now call tuberculosis. Dusting all the books in the British Museum probably didn't help matters, nor did the London smogs of the late 19th century. Eventually, his doctor advised him to seek the fresher air of the countryside, and so on the 1st of January 1905, he retired to his native Gloucestershire. He moved into 2 Osborne villas in Rosebery Avenue, Gloucester. Rosebery Avenue is still there, although Osborne villas have been demolished. His retirement would not be a long or happy one. His lungs were giving up, and on the 12th of March that year, Henry Hook VC died from tuberculosis. He was just 54 years old.
Wow.
Thousands lined the route of his funeral cortege as it made its way from his house on the 6-mile journey to the parish church at Churcham, where he'd been baptised. The hearse was flanked by detachments from the South Wales Borderers, formerly the 24th Regiment of Foot, and the 1st Volunteer Battalion of the Royal Fusiliers. And there in the churchyard of St Andrew's Church, in the tiny hamlet, his life came full circle as he was laid to rest. Hardly surprising, based upon what you now know about the real Henry Hook VC, his family were not happy about the way he was portrayed in Zulu.
I don't blame them one bit. One bit. Andy says, I bet he smoked like a chimney too, right? Wouldn't that probably, that's probably where the tuberculosis comes. I mean, he didn't drink, but he didn't swear off anything else.
The film Zulu has created many myths about the battle, such as the Zulus saluting the defenders at the
Look at Michael Caine. He's a baby.
end, and the British garrison being full of Welshmen who sang Men of Harlech. It also spawned a myth about Henry Hook's family at the film's premiere. You might have heard the following tale and believed it. I certainly did, until I started researching the subject in more detail. The story that's common currency is that his daughters, who were attending the premiere, were so upset by the way their father was portrayed in the film that they stormed out. Unfortunately, there is not a single contemporary newspaper article reporting this incident. Nor have historians such as Ian Knight and Neil Thornton found any evidence in their research. But whilst not storming out, they were certainly upset about how...
He said whilst. Sorry, it always gets me.
how Hook had been portrayed, and based upon what I've told you in this story, you can see why. One of them even wrote to James Booth, pointing out how inaccurately he'd played the role, and sent him a copy of a photograph of her father in old age. In fairness, Booth displayed it in his house until his own death in 2005. A nod to a man whom Zulu did a disservice to, but who served his country with gallantry. And now that you know the real story, if ever you visit Gloucestershire, why not take a detour to the quiet graveyard in Churcham, like I did a couple of years ago, to pay your respects to this humble Victorian hero, Alfred Henry Hook VC, 1850 to 1905. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope you enjoyed that.
Fantastic video as always. That was good. It was a really interesting story. All right, I definitely have to watch Zulu Dawn and Zulu. You sent me something on the discrepancies. Okay, I'll watch that as well. Human Wiles. I know, it's funny every time someone says it. You could get TB anywhere, and Aunt got it when she was a child. Fair. I mean, he was a man in combat and he didn't drink, so I feel like smoking might have been there too, but who knows? If I were Booth, I'd have done the mustache. The White House's way to cover up the scorch marks. You guys are dunking on Trump like crazy in this chat today. Stephen Kelly has a weird trivia question. What color are the bricks at 10 Downing Street? Are they not brown? Are they brown? Yeah, you're right, Andy, about the vaccination of TB. Manny says slate gray. I thought they were brown. What, geez, her aunt had her lung removed. What is Sally Ann? I don't know what that is. Tell me what Sally Ann is and what the colors of the 10 Downing Street. The president's house. It's not the president's house. I'm sorry, Andy. Forgive me. That's one of the things that's super sensitive about some things. It is actually the people's house. Well, the people's house is Congress, but the president's, it's not the president's house. It's just where the president lives and works for 4 years. The people own it. Sorry to get defensive on you. Sally Ann is the Salvation Army. Oh, I never knew that's what that was called. Okay. Anyways, okay, we're gonna go to, you guys let me know about the color of Downing Street. And we're gonna go to this next video, rather sharpish. So this is from Jan Brikmann. This is a letter to America. Now, this popped up on my feed, and I thought it was very interesting because the letter is a result of a joint effort between the YouTuber Jan Brikmann and the Grounds United, a working group within the OMAS. I'm saying this completely wrong. The Grannies Against the Far Right. Let me share this with you so you can read along. And they are women who grew up in post-war Germany or experienced World War II themselves. We have joined forces with a network of influencers and NGOs, both in Germany and the US, to spread this letter. Our messages are, we see the peaceful resistance to MAGA, and we recognize MAGA as fascism. You are doing what our ancestors failed to do. We are at your side. And this letter, you can read this letter here at groundsunited.org. We're going to watch him read this letter. Obviously, for what's happening in the world right now, we definitely, I'm definitely interested. The bricks are yellow, like the yellow brick road. They painted the building white because it got burned. Yeah, they had to cover up the burning from the UK. Yeah, we're gonna have to get Delta Force. Yeah, it's not gonna be pretty. Okay, let's watch this clip.
Dear American citizens, we have an urgent message for all Americans. We are observing a democracy in grave jeopardy, with great risk to the freedoms that Americans hold so dear. We know because we've been there. And we encourage and support peaceful and civil protests and action to defend and save those freedoms. We are a German non-governmental civil society network of independent organizations and private individuals. One of our members is a working group of Omas gegen Rechts, Grannies Against the Far Right, who, after being founded in Vienna, Austria in 2017, have been active in Germany since 2018. The Omas are recognized as one of the most influential civil society women's initiatives in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, campaigning against right-wing populism and for democracy. The German grannies against the far right are mostly women who grew up in post-war Germany. Some of them experienced the Second World War themselves. In this network, we have joined forces to take a stand against right-wing extremist ideologies and fascism. Given Germany's history, we see this as our collective duty, especially to our children and grandchildren. We know from...
Okay, first off, like, just respect to the organization for using their lived experiences as a way to give back and to fight fascism and fight, what they went through in their lives, either, during the war or after the war. Huge props. Basically, they're saying they see this democracy falling apart and descending into fascism. That's like, it's not that I didn't already kind of see it and think it, but to hear a country like Germany, given its history and this group of people that are trying to prevent it from ever happening again, calling it out so directly and explicitly is a little overwhelming as an American in 2026. Okay.
Our own experience, how fascism can destroy a country, its freedom, and its society. And it is our responsibility to leave our descendants and future generations a world in which there is no place for dictatorship, hatred, and fear. World War II destroyed Europe and killed millions of people. Promises of greatness and superiority.
Oh my God, that one statement alone is huge. Promises of greatness and superiority. I mean, America has always had a superiority complex anyway for the last century, basically, if not longer. But just that whole promises of greatness. I mean, again, I've studied World War II immensely for many years. I've watched and read as much as I can find on it. I mean, I know I haven't hit everything, but I'm not a scholar by any chance. But I remember when MAGA was starting in the 20-teens and seeing and comparing it myself to Nazism. And I always thought, like, I was being a little too extreme. And then as time went on, it became more and more obvious and apparent to me. But it's so... it just hits really differently, right? When you hear someone who's lived it, or a group of people who have lived it or experienced it, and they're trying to say, hey, wake the hell up. And it's 2026, so it's been like a decade or so that America has been falling into fascism, if not longer, to be honest. There's some interesting propaganda films from the 1940s. The US has some good ones. Don't Be a Sucker is one. Yeah, maybe we should watch our own propaganda. Try to not fall into fascism. The roles have reversed, Marcia says. Absolutely. Hello, Andrew Fry. Thank you for joining us. glad. I'm not sure I understand your comment, Andrew, but thank you for being here.
Led our nation into a war of annihilation against our neighbors. These promises duped people into following its egregious and inhumane ideology about unworthy life. It has taken generations to try to heal these wounds, and they remain. That is why after the Second World War, Germany took an oath on which our constitution is based. Never again will we allow ourselves to be ruled by fascism. Without the United States, the Allied forces would not have succeeded in liberating Germany from the terror of Nazism.
Sorry, Andrew, but I completely disagree with you. It has nothing to do with the Democrats. The Democrats are just as corrupt as the Republicans are in the United States of America. And democracy has been falling for a long, long time. But the rise of the Make America Great Again movement has actually descended into dictatorship. And it's just become absolutely terrifying that it's going down a slippery slope. I completely disagree with you. I'm sorry. But it's not the Democrats' fault. That's silly. It's the Democrats should be doing more by far, and they should have been doing more for over a decade. They should have been doing more for a lot longer than that too. But it's not solely their fault. It's people in power. It's about people in power. It's not one side or the other. It's about people in power versus people with no power. That's how fascism becomes a reality.
We remain profoundly grateful for this. Without your country, Germany would not have democracy today. This connects our two countries. And it is the reason we appeal to you so urgently today to warn all Americans, your democracy is in danger. When we look at today's America, we see a deeply divided nation. We no longer see the country that helped liberate us a mere 80 years ago. What we see today leaves us profoundly shaken. Make America Great Again is a right-wing populist slogan. And slogans like these justify fascism. We know because we have seen this before. We understand how fascism grows and how it manipulates citizens with false promises that exploit their fears and prejudices.
Richard, I agree. People who say that they are superior aren't. As almost entirely true. If you are a superior person, you usually don't have to say it. And that goes for a lot of things. It does not just in the political realm. It goes for a lot of different things. I infiltrated MAGA before it gelled. I'm still friends with one of them. I don't think there's anything wrong with being friends with someone who's MAGA or believes something different than you. And I don't have any problem with Andrew being on here and having a conversation with them about, what he thinks and all that kind of stuff. I welcome that. We have to have those conversations. We have to we can't write people off, everyday people. It's not always their fault. A lot of it has to do with propaganda. A lot of it has to do with being promises that don't come true. A lot of it has to do with material needs not being met, and suffering from the everyday average person's population kind of, point of view. So we have to be really careful about that. And having conversations is how we can change hearts and minds. And you can't do that if you just write people off. But we need to be careful as well. Roy Cousins says, I saw a YouTube video about a German-American Jew who escaped the Holocaust, reclaiming their German citizenship so that they can escape from the US. Jesus. Oh my God, that's heartbreaking. On so many fucking levels. Excuse my language.
We know, because in our country too, people longed for a strong leader and believed his promises. MAGA leaders are quickly destroying American democracy, American society, and increasingly the American economy, while enriching themselves in the process. It was no different here in 1933. At first, some people believed they were benefiting from Hitler's policies, but that changed quickly. The fascists had already divided people into categories and cruelly judged their worth and their lives. Once Hitler became Imperial Chancellor in January 1933, it took the Nazis only 2 months to completely destroy Weimar democracy. Watching your federal government occupy cities and target migrants is eerily familiar. The rapid destruction of the rule of law, suppression of speech, including the press, universities, science and basic right of assembly, imperialist fantasies about conquering other countries, even allies, information control and centralized propaganda, blatant corruption at the highest level, violent expulsion of people under the guise of illegal migration, and an exodus of the brightest minds to other countries where they can freely do their work. MAGA cannot offer a future to the American dream. Worse, the crisis of your democracy is directly linked to our future and indeed that of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But there is hope. We are seeing peaceful resistance to this neo-fascism. Most recently, as a response to ISIS violence in Minneapolis and in other cities. The No Kings movement has mobilized millions of protesters. These demonstrations are larger than anything that was seen in Germany after 1933. The time to act is now. History has taught us that all it takes for evil to prevail is for good people to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
We believe in the goodness of the American people. We know that there are millions of citizens on both sides of the political spectrum who are deeply concerned about the path their country is on, including those who thought their vote would make America great. Many hope for a better future, but all they've gotten are lies. For the citizens of America, to stand up to fascism and defend your democracy, just as you did for Germany and the world. You still failed to do. Know that you are not alone here in Germany and Europe. But there's many good people standing up for each other, for democracy, human rights, and a positive shared future. Never again is now.
Wow, that was extremely powerful. A little emotional. Whew, for me personally, it vindicates me because I've been kind of, seeing these parallels and similarities, as I mentioned earlier, for a long time. Part of the reason that we decided to leave was because we failed to see any real strategic opposition to anything, meaning that we left when Biden was president. So, and we decided to leave when Biden was president. And we decided to leave because for lots of different reasons, obviously. But, the safety and well-being and the future of our child mainly. And we just didn't see anybody that was going to create that for our child's, for her future. But I'm glad to see that because so many people come up to me personally, so many people will ask me in the comments and all that stuff about like what is going on with America, what is wrong with America kind of thing. So it's nice to see that there are people out there that see, the protests and see that the American people actually aren't happy with what's happening, majority wise anyway, on a lot of these specific issues and that recognize, that where the government is right now and has been for the past few years is not necessarily representative of all of the United States of America. So that was nice to feel and see. US finally getting involved just meant that mainland Europe didn't go commie. The Soviets, just like the Nazis, couldn't have invaded the UK, but we couldn't have evicted them. I'm not sure, Andy. Thought if a slogan says again, it's harking back to a thing that never was. I'm not sure I'm following your train of thought, Andy, and I don't want to speak or respond to it until I really understand it. So if you could just clarify that for me, I appreciate it. Andrew Fry says, it's interesting. I moved to the USA because of how the UK became. It's a different, much safer place. You think the USA is a much safer place than the UK? That's surprising to me because I think the complete opposite. What do you think is happening in the UK that's making it so unsafe, Andrew, or at least when you lived here? I'd be curious just because I've not had that experience at all. So I'm very curious as to where you're coming from. Andy said she's come around. She understands now that I was right. I'm not following you, Andy. I'm sorry. I want to, but I'm not following your thought process. Sorry. Marcia said the Brits had 250,000 troops near the Berlin Wall well before. Richard said, I am good at certain things, but know my limitations. Well, yeah. I mean, we all have our own limitations, don't we? How does this make you feel? It makes me feel... Obviously, it makes me feel, like I was saying, it makes me feel a little bit vindicated because a lot of people were telling me I was crazy for thinking similar thoughts. But it makes me feel hopeful. Hopeful that, look, the world is shifting right wing because there's been so much corruption from those in power, those in leadership, those who, own big business. I mean, even right down to our jobs, right? Those companies that we work for not giving us the benefits we deserve, the salaries we deserve, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many levels there are so many people at the top level that have just taken advantage and have become extremely corrupt. And that definitely always eventually is going to trickle down to the masses. And the masses are pissed because they've been dealing with stuff for a long time. They're increasing output, they're putting in more hours, and they're getting nothing back. And our well-being and our livelihood and our future and the future of our children is all, questionable now. And it's not just exclusive to the United States. There's some of it happening in the UK. As he mentioned, there's stuff happening in Germany and Europe. The whole world is moving to far right because that's what happens when you're in a democracy, when you're in socialist republics, when you're in situations where you're supposed to be governed by the majority of the people or majority rule, and it's not actually happening. So people are naturally going to shift to the other side. That is like a result of politics. That's just how politics works. So what needs to happen is the people that are in power need to actually listen to the masses and prevent the shift to the right by doing something about the problems that everyone is facing on the regular, the average working class level. That's my opinion, and that's how it makes me feel. It makes me feel a little bit hopeful, but of course I'm still nervous, and I don't want to see anything happen to my country, but it's falling apart. I can't help that. I wish I could. And I don't... I hope I'm wrong, because the American people, as most average people, deserve better, but I think it's going to get worse before it gets any better. I think it's going to become a little bit more violent, not a lot more violent, before it gets any better. And I'm scared about that for the people that live there. And I'm scared about it spreading to the rest of the world. I'm scared about what's happening economically to the United States, because I know that has direct ties to the rest of the world as well. And it's a really weird feeling. I was talking to my partner about this over the weekend because we were catching up on news or something. And I was saying, we were talking about what's happening in the US. And I was saying it's such a strange feeling to be watching it from the outside basically crumble from within. It's really hard to put into words. I just couldn't. I used to think I wouldn't be able to imagine what it's like to be in like war-torn countries and stuff like that. And it's not quite there yet on the US soil, thankfully. And I hope it doesn't get to that point. But my imagination runs a little bit wild sometimes when I read some of these stories and I see some of these, news clips and stuff. And I don't know. It's really hard to put into words. Stephen Kelly says Farage is already talking about an ICE-style Gestapo in the UK. Nowhere is immune to the rise of fascism. You're absolutely right. That's why it's so important for those in power to pay attention to the people they're leading and for people to be as informed as possible when they vote, to not just vote on emotion. I know it's difficult, especially in tumultuous times like this, because we're all nervous and scared, but we have to vote our conscience. We have to vote our morals and not our emotions. Because it comes back to bite us in the ass. They don't care about us. People in power don't get, I'm sorry, I'm going to go on a little bit of a political rant. So I'm just warning you now. People in power and have money and own all the shit don't care about us. They don't give a rat's ass about the average person. They don't care if you live or die. They don't care if you have a place to live, if your kids are sick. They don't care if you're struggling to get to and from work. They care about their pocketbook. That's it. That's all they give a shit about. Their ego, their pocketbook, their status, their position. That's all they care about. So what we have to do when they're not listening to us, like many people in the world, like many countries, as we've discussed already, are seeing in the world, they're not listening to the average people that they represent. We as the average people need to hold them accountable for that. And we need to hit them where it hurts. Metaphorically, obviously I'm not condoning violence because I don't do that. But I'm saying we have to hit them in their pocketbooks. We have to hit them where they're, hold them accountable by taking away their positions and their power. And we have to not work as hard and we have to not consume and spend. We have to hit them where they're actually going to feel it so they can sit up and take notice of what's happening to us. That's the only power that we have besides our vote and our voice. We have to use it. We have to educate. We have to have conversations with our voice. We have to make sure that we're informed and educated, and we have to hit them where it hurts, metaphorically, not violently. That's the only way they're going to listen to us, is if we start affecting their pocketbooks, if we start affecting their positions of power, if we start affecting their status and ego. That's it. That's the only thing that's going to happen. That's the only thing that's going to make them pay attention. Because otherwise, they could give a rat's ass about us. They can't. They really don't care. We have to make them care. And the only way to make them care is by hitting them where it hurts. Sadly, you have to be organized and you have to have leadership in order to do that. And you have to be able to, form coalitions and stuff. And that's hard and it takes time. And we're all tired and from working hard and taking care of it and struggling with life. I know, but we have to find the strength or we're going to get trampled. That's literally what's happening in the United States. People are literally getting trampled. There's literally pipes bursting, like just combusting and falling apart in the middle of rivers and seas. There's, dams breaking. There's bridges falling. There's electrical wires that are falling and causing massive freaking wildfires. And there's massive climate change, snowstorms and everything because no one's paying attention. Everyone's distracted. I understand that we're all tired and we have a lot going on. I get it. It's a lot to take in, but we're also not taking responsibility. We're distracting ourselves. We need to find the strength to push forward and make these people pay attention to us. It's the only way things are going to change. They're not going to change by getting rid of a certain group of people. They're not going to change by, closing borders. It's not going to change by electing more rich people that are going to give tax cuts and privatize everything. That's not going to help you. That's not going to help the average person. Trust me, I lived for 40 plus years in everything was privatized. Everything was privatized. Look at the state of America. We just have to make sure that we are as organized and we pay as much attention and we're as informed as possible. And I'm sorry that I'm yelling. I just woke up my kid because I was yelling. So, all right, I'm going to take it down a notch now. Sorry. I just really care. I want people to do well. I want people to be happy. I want people to be prosperous, and they can't be when there's people in power that don't care. I'm sorry, I just lost my place in the comments. Richard says, I've been to far more dangerous countries. What, than the US or the UK or both? The Royal Navy stop. I assume that's what RN is, Andy. Stops any risk of an invasion up until the not defense review. I don't know what that not defense review is, but okay. Richard says been to places in Africa. Okay. I haven't been to Africa, so I can't speak on that. Can I ask where in Africa, Richard? Marja says nobody should live in fear, yet it seems to be getting worse. Well, fear is an easy way to manipulate people, Marcia. Andy says, we found out back in the day, don't let greedy bastards have all of the power. The media is owned by billionaires, and having people scared is a plus. Yeah. Andy says, I've met Americans. Some of them are really nice, can't drink worth anything, of course, but they seem a little too trusting. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate the vindication. Richard says the French Revolution was a warning. Yeah. And Andy goes on to say it was the direct result of the French crown's treasonous revolt in the colonies. Alex is in the US. Okay. Boycott the US. I don't think you need to boycott the US, but I understand the sentiment. I think it'll do more harm than good from the UK perspective. But from what I hear, they're making strides behind the scenes. So to strengthen, that so it doesn't affect you. Marcia says Americans seem to be too busy working to listen to too much world events or even domestic. No one, so they just keep running around. Exactly. The society was created to be that way, Marcia, on purpose, so they can control people and people can rob them and take their money, and they'll never pay attention. Thank you. Richard says aristocrats and clergy did not pay taxes. That makes a lot of sense. And I don't know what you're saying. Alex says it's getting worse in the USA. Oh, I'm so sorry. I really am. I wish it wasn't. I really wanted to leave, and I wanted to be wrong. Like, I wanted everyone to laugh at me and be like, what'd you leave for? Oh. But it hasn't been the outcome. Mandy says, I will never vote for parties like Reform because a vote for Farage is a vote for MAGA UK, and I'm never going to do that. Yeah. Alex says, I want to leave the US and go to the UK. Do you have an avenue to do that? I mean, if you have an avenue to do that, I would probably recommend, from my opinion, it seems like a good idea if you can. Disco, you're good. Go ahead. Do what you got to do. We're going to end the stream soon anyway. I wonder how bad it has to get before the UK allows the US to claim asylum. Yeah, I've thought of that too, to be honest. Marry a British citizen, Alex. It helps. Have a kid who's a British citizen. That helps too. And he says, from here, the USA looks like Fallout. Yeah. Disco, thank you so much for all that you do and appreciate you being here. Have a good one. Rory Cousins says, never vote for a populist. They will tell you lies and lead you straight up the garden path. I don't know if that's 100% true because I know some populists that are actually populists. We just have to make sure they're actually populists. And he says, I actually infiltrated a Black supremacist group. It was interesting. I got an apology. To be honest, a lot of things, those guys had a point. But right now, Anti-Slavery Patrol is a point of pride there. Royal Navy. Is that Royal Navy? We just need to, look, people are people, human beings are human beings. We can't start blaming each other. The problem is not immigrants. The problem is not migrants. The problem is not, this person or that person from this area or that area. The problem is the people in power. Look up. Look up. If you've never seen the movie, Don't Look Up. I recommend it. It's very, very eye-opening. That being said, thank you all so much for being here. I'm going to end it there because we are late and I'm keeping my kid up. Now I feel really awful. Thank you all so much for stopping by and chatting with me tonight. Special thanks goes out to our moderators, of course, who do a banging job, and our members who keep all of this thing afloat. I couldn't do it without you all. Again, if you want to become a member, definitely scan that QR code and join our special live stream tomorrow. We are going to watch the State of the Union address, and we're going to play bingo along with it and have some fun. I hope everyone has a great rest of your week. Don't forget to join us every Tuesday, 8 p.m. UK time, because the next show will be better. And just as is true in life, it's only better when you're there. Thank you guys so much. Stay safe, find some joy, and I will see you next time. Bye, y'all.